What's going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer from blueandgold.com with former Notre Dame Fighting Irish linebacker and captain Mike Goolsby. A little bit of late start for us, but Mike Goolsby is a very busy man, so we are here. Mike, why don't you tell them about your day today? Tell the
Oh,
people.
I just went and I drove out of state to look at a vehicle, Mike. So, and I apologize for having to do this, 10 days after the fact. But
Yeah.
yeah, that Sunday night we're supposed to do it after the game. I got sick, man. I haven't been sick like that since I was a little boy. Just violently ill, and I'm blaming some of it on the Irish's performance. So, but good to see your bearded face again, as always, my friend.
Yeah, dude, it's been on my to-do list to shave this thing for quite a while, but here we are. So Pork Chop Express says the man, the myth, the legend in our YouTube chat. So yes, we have. I'm guessing he's talking about you. So we definitely
I thought that was you.
no.
Co-legend status, Mike. We made it, dude.
The people don't tweet and say where's Mike Singer. They're asking for Mike Goolsby. All right, we really have a shit ton to talk about, and we're a minute and a half in, and already got to drop a curse word in there because that's just how serious today's show is. Quick shout out, Bolt Landing Brewing Company. I don't know if they
I'm rocking their glass. I know they got you some glasses, Mike.
yeah, because you made fun of me, so look, we're both rocking it.
Class it up, dude.
Brendan runs the place in Bolt Landing, New York, and he sent us some more beers and stuff. This Festive Slacks beer is freaking amazing for us watching on YouTube. Like, such a cool looking can and good dark beer. Great pour by me, and got myself a fancy beer glass. So thank you for making fun of me for not having one, Mike. So now that I have one, listen, folks, whether you're watching on YouTube or a podcast, like, subscribe, rate, whatever you do. And go to blueandgold.com. $1 for 1 year premium access. Mike Goolsby's on the board. He started posting, so that's fun. And if you sign up before February 3rd, you get a free Founders Club hat, blue and gold. I mean, it's really the deal of a year. I mean, that value right there is probably like $130, $140, and you're getting it for a $1. It's just for the first year. Obviously, your second year would go back to normal pricing as all subscriptions entry deals go. But yeah, heck of a deal. Okay, so there we go, Mike. Let's talk about the Fiesta Bowl, shall we?
Let's do it. Better late than never.
How are you feeling about this game? I know you were heated. Are you still pretty upset, Mike?
Heated is a word. Angry is a word. Mike, when you were a little kid and you'd get in trouble and you do something you knew better than to do, and your parents would be like, I'm not angry with you, I'm just disappointed because you know better. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And I look at the Fiesta Bowl that same way. I wasn't so much angry. I was angry. Who am I kidding? I was angry, and I was so disappointed. The build up to the game with the Freeman hire, all that positive momentum, the first half versus the second half. I was just like, gosh, dang it, dude. I was bummed, just bummed because I'd just been genuinely looking forward to seeing how they played for their new coach. And I think the coaches, and we'll get into some of this, I think the coaches let the kids down in terms of prep and that word that people love to throw around, making adjustments. And I think that in a lot of ways, on the other side of the coin, Mike, that I think the players let the coaches down, let Coach Freeman down. So we can kind of get into it. I mean, I don't know how you want to tee it off, but you can I might just run on for 5 minutes if you're good with that, dude.
Yeah, let's start with, you want to go offense, defense.
Sure.
In the thumbnail of this this YouTube video, I got a picture of a dejected Jack Cohn with an angry looking Mike Goolsby. I know the last time I used that little screen grab of you kind of were like, man, why are you using that picture of me? It wasn't your favorite.
Whatever.
It was just too good not to use. So
Sure.
I feel like
Yeah.
it
So
kind of sums
let's
up how
talk
you were feeling.
let's talk about the offense. Is that fair?
Jack Cohn's 68 pass attempts, 509 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a pick. He kid played his heart out, that's for sure. But running game obviously couldn't get going. 42 rushing yards, some good things from the receivers. Talk about the offense, Mike. What do you think?
So one of the things, and again, talking about that build up to the game that I was looking forward to was that with Coach Kelly being gone, and that conceivably like the training wheels are off for Coach Reese, and the expression like when the cats are away, the mice will play. So Coach Reese was like, "F it, let's throw it 70 times." So that was fun on one hand, and on the other hand, with the lack of a running game, it was really indicative of how special of a player Kyron Williams was for this program. I don't believe that Coach Reese had a lot of faith in the run game. And when you go back and you look at previous games throughout the course of the season, like so many of the runs that Kyron made were just on just sheer grit, ability, breaking tackles, stepping out of tackles. I mean, he like made his own yardage. And we didn't have him available for the game. So I think kind of Coach Reese kind of scrapped it. So we just threw it all over the yard. Now with that, in terms of making adjustments in the second half, Oklahoma State really stopped blitzing. They just played coverage. Oftentimes, Mike, they were rushing 3, dropping 8. And that was kind of a missed opportunity for us to check into a run and or adjust and start pounding the ball. Jack Cohn statistically played a great game. Again, I guess I'm glad that we had him this season, but I'm very conflicted with Jack Cohn. His pocket presence in that game I thought was very, very poor. I mean, just like case example, Mike, they're rushing 3, so those edge rushers are just getting vertical. Jackson in a shotgun, and then would continue to get another 2-3 yards depth.
Right, you got to step up.
Which just allows the defensive ends to run the rail and get a sack. It's like versus just kind of taking the snap and maybe moving up in the pocket. His pocket awareness, he never got better as the season went on. To me, Jack didn't. I thought some of the play calls were interesting. Like we're not running the ball with any success, and we're not even really threatening to run the ball. However, we're still running like play action when Cohn was under center. So it's like, why run play action if you haven't had any success running the ball? So
it's just wasted time, right?
It's just kind of a waste of time. And then like you could teach a linebacker, most linebackers know this, and people watching the game at home, when a quarterback's under center, if a running back's at 5 yards, Mike, it's a pass. If a running back's at 7 yards, it's a run. 7 yards gives him more vision, time to set up blocks. 5 yards makes it more easy for him to step up in pass protection. So we were putting Jack under center, running backs at 5 yards. It's like it's an obvious pass down, yet we still carry out the play action fake. And I would also too, Cade Madden's the worst football player I've seen in a long time. Just I need to get that out there.
Don't hold back.
It's just cathartic. It's just cathartic to say it out loud, Mike. I mean, he was so bad.
That last play,
Oh,
it was 10 days ago. Cohn did all he could. Ball was kind of tipped and hit Kevin Austin on the head. Hey guys, make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video, by the way. You're watching live. Please do that. Madden got beat so bad. He really did. I thought of you when I saw that.
Well, if you didn't, I videotaped my television screen and sent it to you and Tim Hyde.
Oh, that's right. You did.
Yeah, I think that was like the second to last play of the game, whatever. And, and Cade Madden continued to play the entirety of the game. And that was another kind of layer of disappointment for me was like we haven't got to the quarterback yet in terms of Tyler Buckner's role or lack thereof. But I was excited to see, again, with Coach Reese being gone and being completely removed from any personnel decisions, that we didn't sprinkle in other kids, namely at that right guard spot. That was disappointing. And the only other thing, like, there was just such a bummer, man, was I don't feel like the kids, and we're talking offense here, I don't feel like specifically at the wide receiver spot, Mike, I don't feel like that they came out and competed. We'll say that they played hard, but I feel like they didn't compete. Kevin
At
Austin
receiver?
didn't.
Talking about at receiver?
Yes, sir.
Maybe outside
Kevin
of
Austin didn't
Styles?
compete for the ball. Go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
Maybe outside of Styles?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. That's fair.
Styles was
I'm
fantastic.
not knocking Styles. This is more of a critique aimed at Kevin Austin and aimed at Braden Lenzy. And I've said it before throughout the course of the season. I thought that the receivers tend to like show more energy when Tyler's in the game at quarterback versus Jack. Um, I know he throws a better deep ball than Cohen does, but I just didn't see them going up and competing to make catches. Like Colsey had and these are on a lot of stop routes. It's like 3rd and 6, we'll run a 7-yard stop route, and they just don't compete to get the ball, and that bothered me. So Kevin Austin's gone, Lindsey's coming back, but that was just a bummer. And then again, everybody talks about coaches don't make adjustments. They didn't make adjustments, but then nobody ever talks about, well, what adjustments could be made or should be made, and specifically to this game on the offensive side of the ball in the second half, they stopped utilizing a 4-man front the majority of the time, and they stopped bringing pressure. So we're in a 3-man front. It's like, let's just run a draw. Let's check to an inside run. And we didn't do that. We just kept chucking it around the yard.
Mike,
So,
let
yes,
me interrupt you. What
please.
did you make of Tyler Buckner's 0 snaps?
So, again, disappointing. And I'm glad you brought that up. If we're doing this, people call it an RPO, people call it a quarterback read, quarterback decide. It's a run pass option for the quarterback. That shit does not work with Jack Cohen, a quarterback. It doesn't work. Like, throw it out. So just get rid of that little play fake because nobody's honoring it. The edge guys aren't honoring Jack Cohen. And again, great kid, but he's so unathletic, Mike. He can't carry out a lot of play fakes. Like if you asked him to take a snap from under center and sprint to the edge for a boot action, he can't get there. He physically doesn't have in his DNA to do it. So that's another potential adjustment. Mike, had you sprinkled Tyler in the second half, that might have opened up the run game as we've seen it kind of play out throughout the entirety of the season. So if I'm Tyler Buckner, I'm a little bit, don't you have to be a little miffed? I burned a year of eligibility. Not that he intends on staying for 5 years or anything, but I burned a year of eligibility to do what?
I don't know, Mike. He got a lot of good playing time this
Oh,
season, right? For a
I mean,
true freshman?
a lot's a relative term. Well,
Mike, he got good experience, at the quarterback position.
I mean, like I said, we've talked about your level of kindness. You're just a very kind person. But if I'm going to burn a year and you're going to develop me, there has to be some measure of consistency in terms of how often we're going to plug him in.
That's a different discussion. Yeah, I think overall he got good experience this season, but if you look at it from a micro standpoint of his usage, it was weird all season. There never was a rhythm.
Super weird.
Yeah.
Super weird.
It felt like they were forcing him to get reps because they want him to be the guy next year. That's what it felt like all season.
Well, I mean, forcing is probably a strong word, but yeah, there didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to the usage. And I think this is a prime example. It's well, shoot, we can't run the ball. Let's throw Tyler in there at the very least to run that RPO game. And he could pull it, and then boom, there's a 20-yard pop. Now we've got a little bit more momentum. And the offense was just it was stale throughout the majority of the second half. And again, throughout the course of the season, Mike, we plugged Tyler in for a jolt of energy, and it's just we didn't do it this week.
Yeah.
Or that game.
All right, Notre Dame fans, if you're just joining us live here, Mike Goolsby, Mike Singer here for the Mike Goolsby Show. We did not have a post Fiesta Bowl show, and we're doing that now. But we are also going to talk about a lot of the roster decisions. Harry Heastan, Mike wants to talk about him, so it'll probably be a little bit of a longer show. So appreciate you guys watching live with us, watching back, or listen via podcast. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on YouTube. And For you guys watching this costs you $0. So, of course, you drop a super chat. We always appreciate that. But otherwise, I am at liberty to plug our Blue and Gold website. We recently moved from Rivals to the On3 network, a move that we are very excited about. If you sign up today, go to blueandgold.com, $1 for your first year of premium access, and you'll also get a free Founders Club hat. You can see the image on there for YouTube audience if you sign up before February 3rd. Now, these hats won't ship out until the summer. That we don't have inventory for them yet. So, I mean, keep in mind it's a $1 subscription. You're still getting a free hat. It might take a little bit of time, but yeah, really, really exciting stuff. Again, guys, $1 for the first year. You also get a Founders Club hat. Always shoot me an email, msinger@blueandgold.com. Shoot me a tweet at mtsinger. Drop a YouTube comment. Whatever you got to do to get in touch with us. If you have any questions, please let us know. All right. Let me look at my notes and see what we have next, Mike.
Hey, can we touch on
defense.
the defense?
I do want to. Yeah. Yes. Defense, and specifically the run defense, and the Oklahoma State quarterback Sanders rushing for 125 yards on 17 carries. Just kind of did whatever he wanted. And I remember doing pregame shows with Tim Hyde, and Tim was like, look, the Sanders guy is not that explosive. Like, he was a first-team All-Big 12 guy kind of by default. Like, 371 yards and 4 touchdowns, runs for 125. I mean, what the heck was going on with their Notre Dame's rush defense and stopping the quarterback?
Hey, before we talk about defense, I do want to acknowledge our foray into merchandise with these hats. You know, wink, wink, Mike. But yeah, defense-wise, lack of adjustments. So we were pretty consistent in terms of our game plan throughout the course of the afternoon, in that we were just bringing heat, constantly bringing heat, and everybody needs a scapegoat. Clarence Lewis seemed to be the scapegoat coming out of this game. He did look a little bit lost at times, and but we gave him no help. And when I say we gave him no help, I mean figuratively and literally, in that we're blitzing our rover, our safeties walk down, you know, the would-be cover 2 safety to that rover side is walked down. He's locked up on number 2 man-to-man. Let's just say number 2 runs a seam, takes the safety vertical, and then number 1, Clarence Lewis's man, just runs like 12-yard digs. Clarence Lewis is having to cover an entire half of a football field on his own. So let's just say we'll call that cover 1 with, you know, blitzing underneath. The opposite safety, whomever it was, whether it was Houston, whether it was DJ Brown, you name it, they were lined up on the hash on the short side of the field. So like Clarence Lewis kind of got screwed in terms of like the game plan wise, defensively, but he did look lost. I mean, there was a play downward in the goal line where I think in my notes, like I think they brought it to 21 to even the score, and there were, what was it? Yeah, their third touchdown. They're down there in the goal line. They're in trips formation, kind of a wide bunch look. He and Tariq Bracy are supposed to be pattern reading. Like if your guy goes out, if my guy goes in, like we switch off. And then Clarence like dropped off like he was in zone coverage, and his receiver ran a little bubble. His man ran a little bubble screen. So it was tough to watch. I think another storyline coming out of the game was like the collapse of the defense. We were up, whatever it was, 28-3. Insert your Atlanta Falcon Tom Brady memes there. I saw a few online.
It was 28-7, but close.
Yeah, or 28-7. Sorry.
Yeah, close.
You know, with football, Mike, it's never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems. Like they were moving the ball during the first half, but for whatever reason, they didn't put points on the board. But they were moving the ball consistently. It's not like that quarterback had 500 yards of offense solely in the second half. But yeah, it's a little bit concerning with Coach Freeman's scheme, where if you don't have the bodies and the talent level and the skill on the outside, like you've got to be able to mix in more zone coverage to kind of protect some of those guys at times. Now, when we did play like vanilla zone, the quarterback just pulled it down and ran. And then oftentimes we'd be blitzing with our little kind of cross dog stunt, Mike Will, and we're just missing tackles. And I've said it all freaking year long, our linebackers miss a lot of tackles, and it's just the physical limitation. They don't have the arm length to like get a hold of these guys. Drew White in particular, like he's a little T-Rex out there trying to get his arms around a Division I athlete, and he just misses a lot of those. And that's where I'm talking about, like where, I mean, what linebacker wouldn't kill the play in a scheme, Mike, where I get to blitz 50% of the times, and you walk out of that game with like no tackles for loss or no sacks. You know, it's just like, what the it's annoying to watch.
Mike,
switch it up. And then last thing about the linebackers is hold your freaking water. Like when I say hold your water, that's like coach speak. Like, dude, all season, I know you're coming on a blitz. It's like, just fucking sit still until the ball snapped. Time your blitz up. And these kids, throughout the course of the season, they keep inching up and they're giving it away. Quarterback can check. And like, you're screwing Clarence Lewis because he's got to hold up in man coverage now. And now the quarterback knows that we're blitzing. And it's just like, what does it take for these guys to just be a little bit more sophisticated in terms of their approach, like with the blitzing, you know?
Going back to Clarence Lewis, Aaron just said on YouTube, here's an adjustment, take Lewis out. And I kept seeing this, you know, people dogging on Clarence Lewis, and I kind of had the same thought as you, like, he's just getting left on an island. They're just picking on him.
There's no help.
If he's Notre Dame's best cornerback in that scenario, so you take him out, like, if Clarence Lewis is not a great cornerback, that doesn't matter. If he's your best guy, that's who you'll have to play there, right? So you have to help him. And he was just on an island the entire game because they're blitzing so many guys. Freeman runs a very aggressive defense, and it was not to the benefit of Clarence Lewis.
Yeah, like, typically speaking, you know, I have a corner that I trained who's probably going to start next year for Oregon. Like, we talk all the time about down a distance and just knowing where your help is. So, like, you can make more plays. If I know I've got help over the top here from a deep safety, whether it be in whatever, because you could play cover 2 man. And then this is the other thing, and I hate to be like that guy, but again, if 2 goes vertical and carries a safety, and then Clarence's guy runs a square in, and our linebackers blitzing, there's no help on the inside. There's no help over the top. There's no help outside. There's no help underneath. So it's like, why don't you just leave the safety, play deep? Clarence can sit on some of those like 3rd and 7 type routes, and then if the guy runs an in-breaking route, your rover's there to pick a pass out. But no, we keep vacating that zone because he's blitzing. So that was hard to watch. Now, I don't like. We'll move on past this game here in a second, but like when I talk about, I was a little disappointed in terms of the coaches and their game plan / lack of adjustments. We touched on that, but then I'm also disappointed in the players because as poorly as they played, like in the second half, we still almost won the game. Like if one kid, we've been talking about this, Mike, just getting kids that want to compete a little bit harder. Like you watched that Georgia game last night. At the end of the game, they're picking up a first down and 3-4 offensive linemen are pushing. Like we haven't seen enough individual effort where kids want to be great in big time games. And I don't know if like the serendipity of Coach Freeman getting hired and just like that kind of fairy tale ending to the season. I don't know if we thought we were going to walk in there and just win because that's the way Hollywood would have scripted it. But this is big time football. And I just thought there was opportunities for us to make plays, specifically bringing down the quarterback, whatever, and we kind of let the coaches down. And I thought that Coach Freeman, I thought that Coach Freeman, watching him on the sidelines, I thought he could have used some timeouts in the second half when the defense is kind of sucking for air. They were tired. Speaking of tired, I thought Coach Freeman looked tired. And that guy's had a whirlwind of a month, you know, and I thought the players should have played harder for him in his first game. I just thought that inevitably he had so many responsibilities, so many media things that it had to detract from his game planning. And that being said, we still should have and could have won the game if players would have competed a little bit harder on a kind of case-by-case basis.
Yep, YouTube folks, hit that thumbs up if you're just joining us. Drop a super chat if you want your question answered right away. I saw one super chat coming. We'll get to that in a minute. Dollar for a year premium access, blueandgold.com. Make sure you check us out.
Mike, it's a two beer kind of night, buddy. Go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Shoot, I only got one here. So
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I think my wife's in bed. So I'm kind of screwed there. All right. A little bit of a transition topic going from the game to the future is the major bowl win drought. Mike, I was 6 months old the last time Notre Dame won one of those big ones. As a Notre Dame alum, a former Notre Dame player, how frustrated are you that it's been so long since Notre Dame's won one of these big bowl games?
Well, first of all, it sounds like you might be the problem. You know, you're born and then we just start losing. So
No, they won. I was born and then they won.
well, fair enough. 6 months one way or the other. So yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. I mean, and that's where there's so many things about Notre Dame, the institution, and there's in a lot of ways more things about Notre Dame football that they're so easy to root for, and more people should pay attention to Notre Dame because they do things the right way. In terms of like bettering kids and when kids to a man, when they come in the program and when they leave Notre Dame football program, they're so much more prepared for real life than your average top 10 college football program. So there's a lot of things to root for, but when we keep laying these eggs year after year in these big bowl game type environments, we just give the Notre Dame naysayers, haters as you call them, Mike,
More ammunition.
you just keep giving them more ammunition. So it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Even though Notre Dame played Georgia really tight, I mean, they beat Clemson last year. Notre Dame fans don't even want to. I give Notre Dame credit for beating Clemson. It was a COVID year. Yeah, they were out Trevor Lawrence, but
I mean, so I don't know what the, I was really thinking about. It's like, if I'm the head coach at Notre Dame,
which
I stay in?
I think you'd be a great head coach, Mike. By the way.
Yeah. I don't. I think maybe would I stay in South Bend longer and show up 2 days before the game? Would I go to the bowl site 3-4 days earlier? I'm kind of tired, and I know all of us are kind of with under Kelly, we would come out flat. But what I'm looking forward to, and we're going to talk baby recruiting. I mean, all off season we'll talk recruiting. And I was texting with Tim Hyde watching the national championship last night. I can't understate or overstate rather. Talent is one thing, but there's and Brandon Joseph, I know we'll talk about the Northwestern transfer. You need a few more high character guys in terms of their drive, to spice it up a little bit. And that there's so many plays that offensively specifically, it's the kids are almost overcoached. They're robotic, and that dude, go try and make that extra play. And in those big time bowl games, we just get out competed. Sometimes we get out speeded or out skilled on the edges, but in this game in particular, I just felt like we got out competed. And that internal locker room leadership, these kids got to look at themselves in the mirror and figure out why. Granted, you did your job, you ran the route great, maybe the ball was a little bit off, but you got to help each other out. And I think that's still a missing element here.
Got a super chat from Garth. My about to sound the super chat alarm. Wait, I think we have it. Let's hear it. That might have been
DJ Khaled in the house.
All right, Garth says, Goolsby, would you like Jordan Patelho at Mike? So Jordan has played some rovers, played some outside backer. I don't know exactly what he's played. But Garth says, I personally think he would have great size and length. Do you have any thoughts on Jordan Patello? And thanks for the super chat, Garth.
Jordan Patello is he's another one of these enigmas. We're all kind of Notre Dame fandom sort of waiting for him to pop. There's a lot in terms of answering Garth's question. There's a lot to process and a lot to learn. And there's a lot to shoulder as a Mike linebacker, which is why throughout kind of Kelly's tenure, you've seen some lesser athletes like the Josh Schmitz and the Drew Whites of the world, like man that position and hold it down because they might have the mental aspect. So that'd be a really tall order for Jordan to pick up. That being said, Garth, I think if Freeman's going to continue to play this like wonky 3 down, put Foskey as a middle linebacker, I think Patello could would be fun to watch him play that role. But as a 3 down Mike linebacker, I don't see it.
Okay. All right. Yep. Again, Garth, appreciate the super chat. And yeah, let's talk about Brandon Joseph, the Northwestern safety transfer who Notre Dame landed just a couple days ago. I interviewed him before he announced. You can find that story at blueandgold.com. We had analysis, plenty of information on him. So you lose an All-American and you gain one. Now that's, maybe a tad misleading because there's no way Brandon Joseph is going to be Kyle Hamilton because really no one, we haven't seen many talents like Kyle Hamilton's safety position, but still huge get here, Mike. And I want to note undergrad. Notre Dame doesn't really go after many undergrads, but I think it's a sign that, hey, like Freeman's guys, like they're not gonna, like, it's gonna take a lot for them to slow down in recruiting. So they go out and get an undergrad guy. So pretty impressive. So thoughts on Joseph as a player, kind of the fit, and them getting an undergrad.
Well, let's talk about, you had a great segue there, Mike, in terms of we're losing an All-American in Kyle Hamilton and we're gaining another one in Brandon Joseph. So Kyle Hamilton is one of those kids that's just touched by God, just blessed, size, speed, athleticism, whatever. But the productivity, I mean, he made a lot of things look so easy that we probably didn't give him the credit that he was due. That's on one hand. On the other hand, outside of like the Florida State game this year where he came across, both hashes to make a great play, he didn't do like a whole lot. He didn't make a lot of like splash plays. He covered up for a lot of people. Was a great eraser in terms of making kind of last ditch effort tackle type plays. But in terms of production, Brandon Joseph's got 9 career interceptions. So I don't think that he's quite the athlete in terms of measurables, height, weight, flat out just speed that Kyle was, but the productivity might supersede what Kyle has done up to this point. And the way the Northwestern used him, I'm not going to pretend to understand like what role he played in their scheme, etc. But he's kind of like a Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger type dude. Not going to like, Tyrann Mathieu isn't a freak athlete. He's not Derwin James back there, but he's played in the NFL for like 10 years and he's still doing it. He's got a little bit of magic. So turning the ball over, or the turnover margin, to me is the most important statistic in modern day football. He fills a massive need for us. Kari Gee left. And that was I was looking forward to seeing what Kari could turn into, but that's the nature of big time college football. So sad to see him go, but it seems like we got a little bit of a pipeline into the Wildcat program there.
Yeah, Chris just made a comment. Second Northwestern player Notre Dame's picked up here in the portal, Ben Skoranek, who was of it. Heck, Notre Dame could have used someone like him this season. Just like, yeah, he got crapped on a lot when he was playing. Yeah, just not being like a difference maker. Heck, yeah, he would have been great to have this past season. But yeah, there you go. So very nice get, and another recent get that Notre Dame fans are very excited about.
Yeah, he can do it. I mean, I watched a little bit of his film. He can blitz. He can tackle. He played man coverage. Play over the top. Nice little kind of Swiss Army knife for Coach Freeman over the next, hopefully, couple of years.
Yeah, couple years. Yeah, should have him for a little bit. Okay, Harry Heastand, Notre Dame brings back us offensive line coach. Thoughts on him, Mike? What do you think about this pickup for the Fighting Irish?
It's great. I love that you call him a pickup. I mean, it's a good. What the hell? What the hell else is he doing? He's retired in South Bend. Might as well go coach some ball. But yeah, it's great. When we hired Coach Freeman, I think I was on a different pod. I think it was me and Tim were on a pod, and we're talking about my big concern with Coach Freeman was just his youth, his age, 35 years old. And you're going to have a couple couple guys on staff that have a little bit of that gray hair factor. Greg Lackey, I think, used that term, that gray hair
Reese is
factor.
Reese is my age, like
Yeah.
young too.
So I think Heastan comes in with a lot of respect, carries a lot of respect with him.
Knows Notre Dame.
And I think it's going to be a nice balance, like with Coach Reese and with Coach Freeman. Wisdom is something that's probably not accounted for enough nowadays, but like the guy's got a lot of wisdom. Our O-line, somehow we made it through this season with that kind of patchwork, playing a 4-string left tackle who turns into a freshman All-American, and going into next year, just position-wise with Alt at left tackle, Blake at right tackle, and Patterson coming back, it's a strength now. And now you throw Heastan on top of it, it looks good. It looks good because there's a lot of, we touched on a little bit in terms of like technique, and I don't think Cade Madden was like talented enough to execute much of anything, but Heastan's got a great track record. Hopefully it should work with recruiting as well. It should factor into that as well. And it's a good hire. It's always nice to have like a Notre Dame guy, and he seems like a Notre Dame guy.
You mentioned Greg Ladke. Greg, I hope you're watching this. Greg mailed me a playing card of John Alt when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs, Joe's dad. Now it's my prized possession. And John Alt, I think the card is maybe 3 or 4 years in with the Chiefs, 6'8", 296. And Joe is like 3'10" now, and he's a freshman in college. So Alt's gonna be like 320 as a sophomore. Like that kid is just gonna keep. He is such a freak because he keeps getting bigger, and I keep hearing like, well, he's gonna gain another 10 pounds if he can keep this athleticism, and he just keeps putting on more weight, and he still moves really well. He is a special football player.
So yeah, are you a sports card guy, Mike? I thought you'd be more like Pokemon or something.
Well, damn, Goolsby. I did do Pokemon as a kid.
Of course you did. See, I was right.
Sports cards, so yes.
Don't take it as an insult,
you jerk.
But it's funny, like when fans get into these 5-star ratings and stuff, like it's a guy like Alt wasn't better than me. Was he a 3-star, 4-star?
Low 3-star.
So low 3-star because he wasn't 300 pounds, and it's sort of not to like knock recruiting evaluators or whatever, but are we not taking into account that his dad played in the NFL for a decade? Like, he just might have been a little bit of a late bloomer. So it's just always, it's a cautionary tale to not pay. The star rating isn't an end all be all because some of that is based off of measurables, and none of these kids are finished products. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, very excited about Joel. Okay, so Harry Heastan. Okay, so we have a ton to talk about with the Notre Dame roster update. Portal, players in, players out, draft, tons of crap. So before we go, because I'm sure we picked up some new folks in our YouTube audience, again, sign up for $1 premium access, blueandgold.com. If you do so before February 3rd, throw in a free Founders Club hat as well, something that will ship out around the summertime. So again, $1 for the first year and a free Founders Club hat, value of like $130. Really the deal of the year. So make sure you guys check that out. Again, this is what the sign up page looks like at blueandgold.com. If you click on the banner at the top, if you really want to, you can do $1 for 4 months. And then you can see what the billing is after the trial period ends. But if you've never been on one of the, on Blue and Gold and you want to check out our site, premium recruiting coverage, I post on there nonstop, ask me questions. You have access to me pretty much all day long if I'm not sleeping. And great time talking with other Notre Dame fans. So always good stuff there. If you sign up, drop a comment on YouTube and let me know. Cool. All right, Mike. You smiling?
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy.
You excited for our new site, or
That's $1.
Right?
That's a dime a month.
Yeah.
8 cents a month or whatever it is.
Basically, our maybe I shouldn't say our thought because that wasn't my decision, but I think the thought is kind of like for our
Sure.
folks who are with us at Rivals, they were paying that $100 a year and just renewed. Hey, here's your chance. We're kind of making up for that. It's $1, and for new
Well,
folk out there, try it out.
Mike, I know how hard you work, dude. Uh, and yeah, I think you're worth $1 a month.
Thanks, buddy. Well, this is $1 for a year. It's not even $1 for a month.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
all right,
even more so.
all right. So roster updates. Here we go. So notable players entering the draft, and I'm even going to leave a few names out, like Drew White. Like he's entering the draft, but not even notable.
I was going to say notable players. Yeah.
Isaiah Pryor. He could have come back for another year, not even a starter for Notre Dame. He entered the NFL draft. Interesting to see if he gets picked up. Obviously, guys like Kyron Williams and Kyle Hamilton. A lot of Notre Dame fans in the YouTube comments here not happy about those two guys for not playing the bowl game after a loss. Myron Tongavloa Amosa, not a surprise, but really good football player. I think he's going to have a fine NFL career. Kevin Austin entering the NFL draft. So I'm just going to go through all these guys, and then there's some specific players I'm sure you want to talk about, Mike.
Yeah, I'm taking notes here.
And then I want to get your thoughts on. Definitely jot down Pryor and Kevin Austin. I really want to get your thoughts on those two guys. Notable names returning. Braden Lenzy is one I want to talk to you about. All of the receivers. Braden Lenzy, Avery Davis, Joe Wilkins. I'm pointing with scissors, Mike. I'm like kind of usually have a pen, and my hand to look smart. I don't have a pen, so I have scissors.
Those are safety scissors, I assume.
I don't know, but they're pink. Those were my Christmas wrapping shears. So now I'll have a purple
Safety
Sharpie that I also wrote, to wife from hubby. This is my Sharpie. I wrote okay. This is very riveting stuff here. People really care about this. All right, more notable names returning on the offensive line. Josh Lugg and Jarrett Patterson. Certainly want to discuss the offensive line. We've touched on a little bit. Houston Griffith and DJ Brown back at safety. That's fascinating given Brandon Joseph's entering the team. So we'll talk about that. Defensive line, Justin Adamalola, Jason Adamalola coming back, and Isaiah Foskey. So again, some really interesting stuff. And Artie just drops us a really nice super chat. So really appreciate that. Says congratulations on the move. Looking forward to a great 2022. So that super chat of $20 Artie could get you 20 subscriptions for a year for our for the first year at least. So Artie, really do appreciate the super chat, my man. Okay.
Thanks, Artie.
All right, let's start with Isaiah Pryor, and we're gonna we are 42 minutes in, so unless
we said it's a 2-beer kind of night. Yeah, so we'll kind of rapid fire through these. Isaiah Pryor. I think he'll have a nice little NFL career. The kid can do a lot of things. I think he'll be a very willing special teams player. I'm going to kind of tag him to Griffith and DJ Brown, but we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Kyron obviously gone. I'm so curious to see what Kyron's going to run in that 40. Because I think he's going to be I was thinking about that earlier today. I think he's going to be like a mid 4.5 guy. I don't think he's going to be a burner. I think he'll do everything else really well. Drew White is declaring for the NFL draft. Or he's going to try and go to the NFL. We'll see what happens there. I know he'll work out hard and do all those things, but just.
And Mike, one other guy, Bo Bauer.
Sure.
Bo
Bauer's coming back.
Well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot of guys. It's interesting. Like when you look at these, like, well, like Myron's gone, a fine player, but like, yeah, I guess he's going to play in the NFL, right? I mean, he's going to be a 4th-round pick, 5th-round pick. Like he's going to play. So, yeah, I wish Kyle Hamilton would have been around longer. It felt like, I'll say it, whatever. He's gone. I feel like, I'm just saying, I feel like Kyle was just kind of like biding his time. I feel like he made a couple plays against Florida State. And he was like, I'm good. I mean, once he hurt his ankle or whatever it was, I mean, I knew he was never coming back. I mean, not to say that it's not even a selfish move. I'm just saying, matter of factly, he was out.
Yeah.
So, glad to have him for the 2 years and 4 games that we did. So, guys coming back, is that probably probably should be our focus. Kevin Austin
Yeah,
doesn't make
definitely.
Kevin Austin. It doesn't make sense to me. But he's been here a long time, and he is probably some of these kids, like I would wish I could get my hands on them and work with them and kind of train them or whatever. But you see the measurables, you see the length and the speed, but he's too rigid for me. And if he doesn't compete consistently, if at all, for balls, like once he gets to that next level, the level of competition, like it's people's livelihoods, he might be in for a rude awakening if he gets onto a team, just in terms of like the level of competition.
I think some of these guys, like Kevin Austin's, like how much higher can his stock get? Like I don't know, like someone who's banged up with injuries during his career, like he would have been a number 1 or 2 or 3 threat. I don't know, for Notre Dame's offense, somewhere in there this next season. But I don't know if his stock goes up that much more than it is right now. I don't know. So
I wish him well, but it's just like a guy that has so much genetically, he's gifted, but the motor I never saw. Rarely I saw the motor. I hate to say never. Rarely you saw the motor to just go get it. But we will see. So guys coming back, Lindsey really has to work on becoming a receiver. I think whoever is his next quarterback, hopefully it's Tyler. Tyler will have the ability to complete a deep ball, more so than Jack Cohn had the capacity to. So that bodes well for Lindsey. But just in terms of, he's another guy I think needs to compete more for some of these contested catches. Avery Davis deserves a break. I know he's a good locker room guy. And you just like to see him get consistency. I know nothing about Joe Wilkins. Josh Lugg.
I'm a Joe Wilkins fan for what it's worth. I love Joe Wilkins. Clips we've seen of him in fall camp and spring ball and whatnot. Big, long receiver, and I think he's got a little bit more intermediate route running in him than a little bit more shiftiness than Kevin Austin.
So is he's just like a Kevin Austin? Just it's been injuries, Mike, that's kept him off the field?
Well, he was dinged up this year. MCL. He tore this year. June 2020. He led the Duke game, but for whatever reason, he I don't know. He wasn't the guy. They didn't play him a whole lot last year, but
so this is another thing we're talking about is like coaches. If Coach Alexander comes back, like that room in particular with some of those guys, that's where, gosh, you wish like Kevin Austin would have come back. But like when you get a new coach in that room, everything kind of anything that happened prior to sort of goes out the window, and get a fresh start, new lease on life.
Just that's a receiver face right there, right, Mike? He just looks like a wide receiver.
Oh, we're going Colin Cowherd.
He's got receiver face.
Well, he's got good face. Yeah, I can see. I know what you mean. I absolutely know what you mean.
I don't know. Just when I see clips of him, and you know me, Mike, I'm very much I will let the professionals. That's why we bring you on. I will let those coaches, until they give me reason to not believe in them, I will trust that they are putting the best players on the field. But Joe Wilkins is one of those guys for me. I'm like, I throw all that crap out. I'm a Joe Wilkins guy. And there's also some players I'm not a blank guy, but I'm also a nice guy, so I typically don't bring those up. And some of the players that I'm not a big quote unquote fanboy of. I'm not running their fan club like I am Joe Alt. Some of those guys are big, have a very strong liking from the fan base, so it's not super popular to do that. So a little look behind the curtain of Mike.
Yeah, well, so you said you'll trust a professional, namely you'll trust like the wide receivers coach, the offensive staff to put the best players in the field. I know you and I have talked on previous podcasts about Coach Alexander, a recent podcast, like that guy's got to go.
He did,
and
he's out.
Yeah, so like, well, great. Okay, so who do we hire to replace him and stop overcoaching these kids at certain positions? Stop overcoaching them. So like you need to let their athletic ability.
So you think Alexander was overcoached?
I think that he was. And I can't put my finger on it, but I had a coach like this, and I'm trying to make a cohesive statement for once during these podcasts. Like, I felt like Coach Alexander was an insecure coach, and that like he's not willing. The risk reward for him, it was all risk. There was no reward for throwing a young athlete out there and encouraging him to go make a name for himself, go be a star, go compete. I felt like he's sort of like he's trying to not beat down his players, but you're trying to like rein them in and overcoach them to a point where they lose that innate ability to go make a play and go complete a catch. So there's just something to that where so many of his guys that ended up having 1 year and then end up being like Chase Claypool, or there's been 3 of them, like they play for 1 year and they end up being a second, third round pick. It's like, well, where the ability's been there all along. Why did it take them so like, so either A, you can't freaking develop them, or B, you don't trust them. So if you don't trust them, that speaks to your level of insecurity if they're an NFL player. So that there's just something to that. I'm not in that room. So hopefully for like a Joe Wilkins, it's a breath of fresh air. The sense of urgency goes up. And it, it kind of gets a new lease on life.
Sure. Yeah. The thing about some of these coaches when they're out, it's like, all right, now it's time to pile on. And then you start hearing, like on my side as a reporter, you start to hear a little bit more of the dysfunction there. But I'm one of the few guys who's given Alexander some credits. Like, he worked hard at recruiting. His past couple classes were good. But
you got to be able to retain. You got to be able to retain.
2019 and 2020 classes just were terrible. And I mean, at least Xavier Watts and Cam Hart are good football players. I mean, they ended up being receivers, but at least they're good football players. They're still at Notre Dame. But Dell Alexander, a great man, really good family man. The receivers in that room really did respect him as a person. But as a coach, it just wasn't working out.
Yeah, I mean,
and like him not signing, he only signed 1 receiver, Mike, when it was looking in this 2022 class, when it was looking like for a while that they might get 4. They currently have 7. I think now we're done with receivers. We all know their decisions now. Everyone's coming back except for Austin. They have 7 receivers. Now, I do think they're going to go to the portal and or high school ranks. We've already seen them offer a couple of receivers, and they're looking at some transfer portal options at that position. We'll see who the new receivers coach is here. I think Jamarcus Shepard from Purdue is probably the betting favorite right now, but we'll see.
I think that Dell Alexander is like an old school. I think his shtick is probably tired. I don't know how else to quantify that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. I'll say one more thing on him, and then we're going to move along. For as good as a guy Dell was, to recruit Arizona, Southern California, and wide receivers, you need to have some swagger and some shit to you.
Mm-hmm.
And Dell just doesn't have that. I just don't think he has that personality to go recruit, because you got to recruit extra hard. It's not like Notre Dame is like wide receiver you can't just plug anybody in there. So that's kind of my last thought on Dell.
Okay.
All right, notable names returning. Do we just go through the 3 receivers, Lindsey, Davis, and Wilkins?
I felt like that was sufficient. So Josh Lugg and Jared Patterson, love to see it. I think Lugg might need a he stand. And then, yeah, I mean, that should absolutely be a strength. I'm so excited to see who ends up being the stud running back next year.
Mike, I just want to stay on offensive line real quick.
Sure.
Here's my starting 5 for next year, and obviously It's super early. You got Joe Alt left tackle, Kristofik left guard, Jarrett Patterson center, right guard Josh Lugg, and right tackle Blake Fisher. Now, there's no Rocco Spindler in there, which people will want to talk about. So maybe it's a Rocco Lugg battle, but I think Kristofik had a really good season. You definitely have to start Patterson. You got your bookend tackle, so it's really just the two guard spots you're looking at.
I'm not a fan of Kristofik. So but yeah, if Lug ends up being your right guard, great. But yeah, we'll see if one of these younger guys doesn't make their way in there, whether it's Rocco or we'll see. But I'm not a huge fan of Kristofic, so we'll see. That'll play itself out. Who wants to talk about O-line anyways?
Well, Tom A says Mike Goolsby is a WWE Triple H lookalike. Have you ever gotten that
Yeah,
before, Mike?
I get it all the time.
Really?
Yeah,
I feel like I need to pop up a picture of Triple H now.
yeah. Especially when I started losing my hair, it became more obvious. I could do worse though. I'd say he's ruggedly handsome, perhaps on a good day, like myself. Are you really pulling up an Hunter Hearst Helmsley? Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
There we go. I see it.
yeah.
There we go. That's pretty.
Next
damn.
Halloween, Mike.
You're looking in a mirror right now. There you go. Okay.
I'll
All
go
right.
as Triple H next Halloween, and you go as like Mankind or something. Mick Foley.
When I was a kid, Gold Dust lived in my neighborhood. You remember Gold Dust?
Really?
Yeah, he used to live in my neighborhood.
Well, that's actually Dustin Rhodes, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Gold Dust lived in your neighborhood, huh? That explains a lot, Mike. Now, come to think about it.
Now I kind of want to research to make sure it was Gold. I was like 7, so I don't quite remember. All right, so cover the offensive line. Houston Griffith and DJ Brown back at safety is fascinating because you do bring in Brandon Joseph and you have the emergence of Ramon Henderson and Xavier Watts. So it's like, man, you got 5 safeties there. You were kind of talking to me about this before we started recording. I want you to throw.
I'm telling you, I think Houston Griffin and DJ Brown are like the kind of the same person, and sometimes it's like you're playing with 10 people on defense in terms of like they just don't make plays. One of those two is going to wind up as a rover, is my prediction. And I don't think, Mike, that I've been wrong yet. I told you Joe Alt was going to be left tackle. I told you Blake was going to end up at the right side. There's been a couple predictions I've sprinkled in here, but I think Houston and or DJ is going to end up as a rover, a la like Pryor transferred, was recruited as a safety, transferred in as a safety, ends up playing rover. So I think they give you a little bit more flexibility coverage-wise. You're going to see that. Wouldn't shock me at all. One of them will stay as a safety and one of them will move to rover just because, body type-wise, like that's like moving Clarence Lewis. Clarence Lewis, DJ Brown in Houston, all the same body to me, kind of thicker waisted than you want. A little bit just thicker overall as a DB than you want to see, less length that you want to see. So it's good for numbers, but one of those guys has really got a – Houston in particular was a pretty heavily recruited guy, entered the transfer portal, came back, got beat out. It's put up or shut up time there. So the Adamiola twins are coming back, probably needed to. Bo Bauer, big fan of Bo Bauer, another put up or shut up guy. I thought Coach Freeman gave him opportunity after opportunity to make plays, just in terms of like how they utilized him in that third down package. And I don't know if he took full advantage of that, but the crown jewel is obviously Isaiah Foskey in terms of.
Were you surprised when he came back?
No, I would have been. No, I don't think I was surprised. I don't. I felt like Isaiah Foskey throughout the course of the entire season was one of like 3 guys that consistently played at a high level and wanted to make plays. Kyron Williams, Michael Mayer, and Isaiah Foskey. Like it seemed like every game, if not every other game, made an impact play. And so I was proud of Isaiah for that. So I was like, dude, if you're going to go and try and get paid, I support it 100%. I'm ecstatic that he came back. So to me, it's like, was he a borderline first round pick, depending on how he worked out, ran, jumped, lifted, etc. He comes back this year with his sack production, Now he's, trying to fight to get in that kind of top 10 spot. Better athlete than like an Aiden Hutchinson, who's, I've heard discussions with him, the Michigan defensive end being the first pick overall. He's a much better athlete. Kayvon Thibodeau, the other potential first pick overall, the defensive end from Oregon, super inconsistent in terms of injuries, whereas like I haven't seen that from Foskey. I'm half kidding here, Mike, but I hope that like he and Coach Isaiah Foskey and hopefully and Coach Freeman kind of had a sit down, dude, and they were like, "Hey, I'll come back, but it's enough of this 3-man front middle linebacker bullshit, right? Like if I'm coming back, you're gonna let me rush the passer." But the fun thing about Isaiah too is like physically he's there, so now he really can just spend this entire offseason working on his craft in terms of his acumen as a pass rusher. So it should be pretty remarkable, and it could be he and Botello at opposite ends. I mean, it's pretty exciting to think about the upside there.
The defensive line looks great. I mean,
oh yeah,
you got to replace Kurt Heinisch. On the inside, he's been playing at Notre Dame since Nam. But
dude, I was going out. I was leaving Notre Dame, and I think Kurt was a true freshman. That's how I was.
Yeah, and Bo Bauer, I think, has the chance to break his record for most games played at Notre Dame, which is kind of just I don't know. There's a little bit of an asterisk there because they have an extra year. Of course, they're going to break the record when they can play 5 seasons and no one before them, and to be able to do that really. So,
yeah, well, it's going to be because like Bo should play more of a full down, first, second, and third. And if they're going to swap him out on third down and put somebody else in there, JD Bertrand's probably going to move to the Mike position. So whoever's there at the Mike is going to be a little bit longer athlete, a little bit more explosive than Drew White, but almost more importantly, is going to bring a certain level like physicality and energy and effort that hopefully kind of permeates throughout the defense. That level of competitiveness, right?
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of going through the roster update here. Did have a couple questions from our premium message board, which I think it's about time to throw some love and a good little.
Let's go there. Yeah.
Founders Club hat, guys. Sign up. Just $1 for the first year of your annual subscription. At blueandgold.com, we'll throw in a free Founders Club hat for all new members signing up before February 3rd, 2022. You can see here in this blue box down on the right, expect hats to be shipped out in the summer. This is the sign up page. So go to blueandgold.com, read some content, see if you like it. Subscribe. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, msinger@blueandgold.com. Tweet me, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest, whatever. Find me. And if you have any questions, let me know. Of course, just drop me a question on YouTube. What are you shaking your head about, Ghouls?
Nothing. I just, due to the nature of this podcast, you give me some like layups for jokes sometimes, and I have to bite my tongue. That's why I was shaking my head.
You said doo-doo earlier, and I held my tongue. The 13-year-old in me,
you like toilet humor,
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah.
I'm a Taco Bell guy, so you kind of have to. All right. PA Domer from our blueandgold.com message board says he wants to know your take on the current linebacker corps. So the guys for this 2022 season, what do you think about the linebackers? Do you have a
projected depth chart?
Yeah, projected depth chart. I think I should just say the 2 words Jalen Sneed just so we can do an hour-long show and mention him. But yeah, what do you think, Mike?
So, and if I forget any names, call them out, Mike.
Yep.
But I think start with Jalen Sneed. True freshman. He's not going to know what he's looking at. He's not going to know how to diagnose. But in terms of like, if perfect case in point, if we're going to play the Fiesta Bowl like we did on defense, let him blitz 10, 15 times and see if he can't shake something loose. Your Mike will be Bauer, Bertrand. I feel pretty good about that. Should be. Your will be Marist and Prince Kali, in my opinion. Rover, I just don't think we're going to be able to trust Snead in coverage yet. I think Maris could play a little bit of rover in like a first and mixed, or first down, or like a second and short type scenario. It's a lot of interchangeability. I'm more optimistic.
Talk about
Go ahead.
Kaiser. Did you talk about Kaiser for rover?
Thank you for mentioning Kaiser. Kaiser to me is like, I've definitely cooled on him. I think he could play well. I just don't like how many times we've seen. I think we've seen Kaiser get beat twice now on, or if not three times, on the back half of the season on like vertical seam routes where the tight end just kind of bends it, and he's able to run stride for stride with these people, but he doesn't have the length, so it's real easy for the quarterback to kind of place that ball in over the top of him. So he's more of a. It's just a bummer. Like Bertrand and Kaiser are like the same exact body type. If you switch their jersey numbers, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. I think JD needs to become, again, a little bit more sophisticated. I appreciate your effort. I appreciate you as he plays the game like a throwback meathead, which I can't lie, I love. But at the same time, you got to be a little bit smarter, dude. Like, this is big time football. This isn't high school run through a brick wall. And so I'm more optimistic. I just length. We're starting to see it kind of be worked in. I'm super optimistic to see Prince Collie run and hit. Hopefully Bauer can kind of put it all together. Bertrand's going to be a hard guy to beat out just because I know the way he kind of prepares and attacks the game. And Rover will be interesting to see who ends up locking down that role. I just don't think Snead's going to be ready mentally, but I do think you can use him situationally as a rush guy.
Sure. Okay. All right. First of all, Drunk Vigo, one of the memorable names in our YouTube comments. The Mike should have a Taco Bell eating contest. And then Tom says, I'll take Goolsby over Singer and Taco Bell contest. I don't know how you feel about Taco Bell, Mike, but you don't have a chance in hell to beat me in a Taco Bell eating contest.
Depends on what we're eating. I don't. I'm more of a cheesy gordita crunch. I'm not a Crunch Wrap Supreme guy. We're talking soft shell tacos. Like, what's your go-to since you're the
dude? Anything.
You a fire sauce guy? Hot sauce?
Fire sauce, Diablo, meat. I like all of it. I might have to go get it.
We could do that live. Over under. How many soft shell tacos can you eat? Over under.
I don't know. I don't know.
Limitless?
I don't know. 10? Is that a lot?
That's the math?
I don't know. I've never done it, so I don't know.
Okay.
Another discussion
for all this. Well, you can't say that you're going to blow me out of the water and not have an idea how much you can eat, because I haven't. I may have previously eaten 10 tacos from Taco Bell before. I have a precedent.
I don't screw around when it comes to Taco Bell. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Okay. I forgot about these 2 super chats. We got to get to them.
Oh, please.
Let's sound the alarm. David says, Goolsby, thank you so much for everything you do. Mike, I don't know what you do, but thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate this every week. Can Harry change the running game for next year? Notre Dame is great when they run the damn ball. Thanks again, you guys. So what do you think about David's comment here?
Absolutely. I mean, again, to use the word precedent once more, absolutely. So this year was a mess. Offensive line play. I mean, go back to the first 3-4 games of the year, it was a mess. So offensive line to me is, technique is technique. It just depends on how they're going to scheme it out. Whether we saw a lot of combo blocks and things and trying to get to the second level. So, yes, I'm super optimistic based off of Coach Heastand's track record. And yes, to kind of add another layer to that, if Tyler is anointed as our starting quarterback out of the box, that helps the run game. And I think we've explained that ad nauseum as to putting Tyler in the backfield, trying to run that RPO scheme that Coach Reese likes. It just automatically improves your run game. Takes one defender out of the mix.
All right. The folks are loving our YouTube, our Taco Bell talks here on YouTube. Mike, the Gentleman Singer versus Mike Triple H Goolsby. That's awesome. All right, super chat from Connor. Definitely appreciate that. He says, "Do you have confidence in our coaches in the 2022 season to make the proper adjustments to win a football game? Was the Fiesta Bowl a fluke in that regard?"
Well, you're looking at young coaches on both sides of the ball. So yeah, I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, and they're going to gain some experience through it. I think that Coach Reese missed an opportunity to, again, generically speaking, Mike, you try and open up the game. We're going to pound the rock. We're going to pound the ball. We're going to stick to the run. It's like we threw it out the window immediately and never came back to it. I think that it was a little bit of an outlier, the Fiesta Bowl performance, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, because, again, Coach Freeman he's a head coach at Notre Dame like overnight, and now he's got to deal with all of these things. He's got like 6 kids. It's just like there's a lot on his plate. And call me crazy, but like looking at him coaching during the game, he physically looked tired to me. So yeah, the arrow definitely is pointing up, because the adjustments specifically with like Clarence Lewis and covering him up and helping him out is like blatantly obvious. I don't understand how you can't see that when you go back and watch film the next day.
All right, another super chat. Appreciate this, Garth. Mike, he's talking about Michael Carmody, asking if you think he could be a guard prospect. I don't know. I don't think when we talked about Carmody when he was a recruit, so I don't know if you've seen him much at Notre Dame.
I know he's a longer guy. He's a longer kid, and I remember because he was playing a little bit of left tackle. So to answer the question,
I can chime in.
I think he's. I think he's. Go ahead, Mike. Yeah. I was just gonna say, I think he's a limited athlete to play left tackle where they asked him to play in terms of like the foot speed. But I did see like the motor, and I saw the want to in terms of being physical and all that. So yes, I do think he could potentially slot in as a guard.
The thought when he was a recruit was that he was a tackle or guard prospect leaning a little bit guard. That was at least our sentiment. So he was a really good athlete, like a really good basketball player, like could shoot threes and throw down some thunderous dunks. But if you're saying left tackle, I understand that. Okay. Do you have 2 more quick questions from our blue and gold message board? I'm really fascinated because this is something we haven't talked about, unless you have with our group chat with me, you, and Tim Hyde. I have to admit, I don't read most of those texts because Tim texts us so damn much sometimes. Sorry, Tim. But C. Darwin22 asks, what is your reaction to how NIL has been utilized by other programs compared to Notre Dame? And do you see Notre Dame stepping up to even out the competition in NIL?
Yeah, it's the wild, wild west. My instinct is that the NIL craziness, it has to kind of settle. So, Singer, if you and I owned, let's just say we ran Taco Bell, and we give Tyler Buckner, he wouldn't eat that crap, but we give Tyler Buckner $1 million endorsement deal. I don't think that we're gonna we're not going to see that. We're not going to see any return on that. I think it's fun. So I think it's going to level off. I do. Now, when you say, is Notre Dame going to step up to the plate, or is Notre Dame going to catch up or whatever? Well, who is Notre Dame? Right? So is that alums stepping up, or is that the coaching staff sort of help selling those opportunities? That's interesting. I've always thought it'd be an interesting experiment to say, if I was a coach recruiting at Notre Dame, or if I was in the recruiting department, to like look at net worth of ex Notre Dame athletes, football players 20 years after the fact. And like, you can include all of Miami, Florida State, Bama, include all their ex NFL guys into the mix. So like, forget about the NIL money. Like today, you got a $20,000 deal from a car dealership or whatever is the case. But we're talking about, 4 years for 40. So when an ex-Notre Dame player is 45 years old, what is he worth versus that ex-Florida State player at 45 years old? What is he worth? I think that's more of like an angle or a shift that Notre Dame could take to kind of insulate them from some of this craziness that's going on now currently?
In interviews with recruits, especially when NIL was, just kind of popping on the scene, I did hear things like that, like Notre Dame would do presentations with the recruits on that. But the rules are that schools can't facilitate deals, which
there are no rules. Get real, dude. I mean, there are no rules.
That's the rule. I'm not saying it's being followed or.
Yeah, that's you being Mike the Gentleman Singer, dude. The rule says I can't do this. There are no rules at this point.
Okay. There is a rule by the NCAA, but no one's following it, and the NCAA doesn't really give a crap right now to enforce it. So you're talking about our Taco Bell scenario, Tyler Buckner. That's really not the scenario that's happening. It's more like booster money, back channeling, laundering money. Basically, that's basically what it's turned into.
Well, that's what I said. Who is Notre Dame? Is it the football program or is it the alums? So it's like the alums are going to have to step up, but it's also interesting too because I get the sense that so many of these, whether you're a Tennessee Volunteer fan or if you're a Florida Gator fan or a Bama fan, Georgia fan, USC fan, a lot of that fandom is regionally based, whereas I would presume a lot of the would-be, money people, boosters, etc., they're all over the country at Notre Dame, so it's harder to kind of pull together that like nucleus to make an NIL push. I'm not a fan of it either. I'm not a fan of any of this stuff. I'm not a fan of college head coaches making $10 million a year. I don't know if they're going to do some sort of a salary cap for coaching staffs, but
Brian Kelly.
And I'm not a fan of. Yeah, go ahead.
Brian Kelly's here with his family or family.
Family.
All right, last question, Mike. Then we got to get out of here. I've got crap to do. It's 10:17. So I've got some more work to do.
You got to shave still, dude.
Bobby
You're that busy. You can't find time to shave.
No, I can't. It's too lazy at that point. Bobby O says, "How is Kane Madden going to be replaced?"
Gosh, Kane Madden's going to be replaced.
Be nice.
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to wrestling. Could you pull up, do me a favor, Mike, because this just came to my mind.
All right.
Could you pull up an image of Bam Bam Bigelow? Bigelo, Bam Bam Bigelow.
All right.
Going back to we've had a pro wrestling kind of theme here. Yeah, Kane Madden could be replaced by anybody. I mean, you could put a athletic trainer out there and to do a better job.
All right.
So
you want Bam Bam Bigelow?
Yeah, throw him up there.
Here he is.
Yeah. Oh, you know who I was thinking? Yeah, Bam Bam. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, he kind of just.
Is this who you're looking for?
But yeah, that was it. But I'm thinking of another guy, but I can't remember his name off the top of my head. It'll come to me. But yeah, Kane Madden is not a good football. I mean, I put in my notes. I'm looking at him here. I printed him out from the game. He's the worst football player I've seen in a long time.
Jeez.
And I was joking with Tim Hyde. I'm like, I'm 39 years old, and I mean, if I stretch for a couple weeks, I don't think Kane Madden could block me like in space. Still, I don't think he could. I believe that. I don't know if it's true, but I believe that. So yeah, we've got another, and he was an All-American transfer, right? We've got another one in Brandon Joseph. I think Brandon Joseph is. There's much more reason to be excited than as compared to Kane Madden.
All right, I think we have to play this applause real quick. A little applause there. This is the longest show we've ever had at Blue and Gold, 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Is that right?
Probably. I don't like to go over an hour. So appreciate everyone watching live with us.
See, I said earlier that you give me these layups.
All right.
And I can't take them.
Go ahead.
No, it's sex and comedy, man. It's all about timing.
Oh, I said something about going so long.
Yeah, you're like, I don't like to go over, an hour, and I was like, well,
that's a long time, Mike. All right. Well, you finish your beer.
I agree. I agree. I didn't say I disagreed with you.
I got a good 45
All
seconds.
right.
I mean, Mike, 45 seconds. How about that?
Let's wrap it up.
All right. Appreciate you guys watching. If you still are somehow watching with us or listening back, kudos to you. Man, we got people saying great show. Keep it going. Is there a more sex joke right there, Mike, somewhere?
I wasn't going to joke about sex at all. I think it's been a fun season.
Yeah.
I appreciate you doing this. I think doing this podcast, like I texted you a couple weeks ago, it's been good for me. And we really enjoy doing it. And we appreciate the support.
We do. And dollar for the year. Founders Club hat. Let's do it, guys. Sign up. Let us know if you do. Hit the thumbs up. We'll catch you next time.